So, I haven't made an update in months. Sorry. Got a couple minutes before work. Long story short, I am back in school. I'm really excited. I'm just taking 2 classes this semester. I'm taking it easy a little bit, trying to get work and school more in line and at an even schedule or whatever. Currently only working 3 days a week, which I actually really like right now. My hours aren't as unforgiving. I'm not working 10 hours in one day now, thank God. So, I don't know, I really hope that I can stick with that for a little while. So, I'm going back to school. I'm taking only 2 classes right now, a creative writing class and a screenplay writing class. And I really like both, although I don't know what's going to happen with my creative writing class because unfortunately our professor broke his leg the other day and had to cancel on Monday. So I don't know how this is all going to work, but yesterday or last night after my screenplay writing class, I had a really, really cool conversation with my professor and one of my other classmates who, she's the vice president of the film club, which I also joined. So that's really cool. I'm like really wishing that somehow I could have like recorded that conversation so I could post it, because I think that would have been a really cool little conversation to post to YouTube. We just kind of talked about, first, I had asked him after class about, we were talking about Kurt Vonnegut, because I had read Breakfast of Champions and finished it I finished it a couple months back, and I'm still kind of like, I don't really know how the book made me feel, and I was talking to my professor about this, and I think how Kurt Vonnegut writes is very different from what I'm used to. The book Breakfast of Champions, if this makes any sense, it kind of reads like it's a synopsis of a book. It kind of reads like it's the summary of the entire book. Like you're just reading a summary, the entire thing. When I first started reading the first couple pages, I thought I was reading the foreword of a book. But then that foreword got really, really long, and I'm like, oh, this is the actual book. Interesting. So I thought it was a really interesting way that he wrote the book. He was his own character, in the sense that he was the narrator, he was the omniscient narrator, and he was telling the entire story about these are my characters, and this character is going to do that because I'm going to make him. Which sounds a little wrong if you think about it. Kind of kinky, kind of not. Wishful kinking? I don't know. But, sorry, just ignore that. It was interesting. I got a kick out of it. I guess I'm going to have to read more of Kurt Vonnegut in particular. I'm going to have to read more books of his to, I don't know. Just give him another chance and read another book. I liked how he writes in terms of like things that could be perceived as funny, comedy, I guess. It's kind of offhanded, but it's like it's done in a way that it's, I guess, very like nonchalant, offhanded, but I'm like, that made me laugh. So that was kind of cool. I'm trying to get more into reading again. I keep saying that all the fucking time. But I added several new books to my fucking library. I already have like 10,000 books that I'm trying to read. The Count of Monte Cristo, for one. Started reading that. And then, I just recently ordered Stephen King's Dance Macabre, which is his, it's a book along the same veins of On Writing, or Memoir of the Craft, which I absolutely fucking loved. If you want any tips on writing in general, read Stephen King's On Writing and Memoir of the Craft. But anywho, Dance Macabre is Stephen King's take, and he goes in depth on the subject of horror itself, whether it's in movies, TV, writing, especially. I think he talks about horror between, I guess, maybe the last 30 years. So it's really interesting. I love how he writes. His version of humor is just, it's like almost kind of like an afterthought in a way, but it's really fucking funny. I don't know. And then I was just hanging out I have a few minutes before work or whatever. That's why I was just at a Barnes & Noble, and I picked up Stephen King's new book, The Institute. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, so The Institute, which I'm going to start reading, Dance Macabre, The Count of Monte Cristo, still reading Riding the Elephant from Craig Ferguson. I finished, finally, because I'm a slow reader, and I put shit off a little too much. Trying to change that. I recently finished Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird. It's another book about writing, which I thought was kind of cool. It's kind of like almost autobiographical for her as well. I think she kind of went more into the after stuff about, or like publishing and stuff that goes into that. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was really about the craft of writing. I guess it was just how she felt about it. I don't know. I could be wrong. Whatever. Thought that was not bad. What else? What else am I reading? Trying to finish Catcher in the Rye. Started reading it in high school. Didn't fucking care for it. It's one of the classics that I'm also trying to read and finish. So, can't remember. Yeah. Oh yeah, so I'm doing a screenplay writing class as well, so I've got a few ideas in there, so, and then our professor is telling us that, like, the index cards are huge for writers. Just write one idea down on an index card. I can't fucking talk. One idea on an index card, and just, keep track of them, obviously. So I've got a few ideas in my own head, really wanting to write about my own experiences, specifically with narcissistic abuse. And then I've been having some really, really fabulous conversations with another screenplay writer, Archer Tully, who had been, I met her through one of the narcissistic abuse recovery life coaches that we follow, Richard Grannon. And then he made me a moderator for his YouTube live videos, and then he had made a few other YouTube moderators as well, and Tully Archer is one of them. She's fantastic. She and I have been having really fantastic conversations, especially about script writing in general. She's told me a few of her ideas, really wonderfully funny ideas, like one's about a musical that she wants to do. And then the other is about like a almost Constantine-esque action thriller, maybe comedy or whatever that she had. And then I have an idea of wanting to make maybe an anthology series that's dedicated to going in depths on the subject of narcissistic abuse. And I feel like what would be a really great idea would be every season we take a look at one, maybe two relationships that's all out narcissistic abuse, whether it's a familial relationship, a child and a narcissistic parent, or in my case, either a romantically abusive relationship that I had also been in or whatever, or a friendly type of narcissistically abusive relationship as well. I think it would be really cool to go in depth through each season to properly portray the effects and the techniques of narcissistic abuse, what it does to the person over the course of time. And I think at least one situational story per season would be a really great idea. The next season we could go into, let's say, a child who grows up with a really abusive parent, and then go through that dynamic of how that kind of relationship can be portrayed and seen and all that kind of stuff. So that's an idea that I have, and I would really love to get some of my favorite life coaches involved someday. I started out watching Meredith Miller from Inner Integration, and then found Dana Morningstar from Thrive After Abuse, then found Richard Grannon, Spartan Life Coach, and then found Angie Atkinson, Queen Being, and then Sam Vachnan, and then Chris Godinez. So I think it would be really cool to definitely incorporate some of the real psychological things that go into this kind of abuse, how to spot it, the actual techniques that are used to rope someone into an abusive relationship, and the effects, the psychological, emotional, even physical effects that it takes on the targets or victims or whatever. So I think that'd be a really great idea, and I'm kind of just trying to get all my ideas out, and I think it'd be a really, really cool idea. And definitely get these people involved, and maybe even incorporate their actual videos into the series or whatever. But I think that something like this could be really, really wonderful. It can give people who don't know what this is like an idea of what it is and what it looks like, what it means, what it feels like. I just think this could be really big and really fascinating. So, yeah. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go back to school in general, was I think ultimately my main goal is to make movies or stories and tell stories or whatever. So I came back to school with the intent of catering my love and my talents towards certain things like writing, photography, videography, acting, whatever, all that kind of stuff. I want to especially learn how to write. Basically anything, any format, whether it's poetry, essays, screenplays, stage plays, or whatever. I just want to learn how to write and write effectively, so I can finally, ultimately, start telling my stories, and then from then on, I can also better myself in talents in areas that I already have talent in, or that I have very a lot of interest in. So I think that would be really cool. So yeah, I just need to get in the act of writing a hell of a lot more. I was writing for a good chunk of time or whatever, a couple months back, but I stopped for some reason. I guess it was my job. It was just driving me nuts. But yeah, I remember years ago I tried starting a blog, but I just felt I don't really feel like I have anything to say. But now, after going through this kind of abuse or whatever, I just feel like I've got a lot of shit to say. And I'm, I guess, just trying to find my voice. So I think learning how to write, I think it will just work wonders. And honestly, I think when it comes down to it, writing is freedom. So, yeah. I'll try to do more updates. Or just talk more. Oh yeah, in our film class, where I dropped the idea of doing like podcasts or recording our sessions and stuff. We're just getting together as a group and just talking about film and talk turkey about all that kind of stuff in general. What kind of films we love, what our aspirations are in the film or creative industry in general. So a lot of the people were really liking that. So yeah. Here's the future. Yeet. Deuces. I gotta go to work. Oh god, why?